administration. So that was not a lie that the Prime Minister told in Parliament on Thursday.
I'm glad you go back there, Sir Ralston, because I want to check the DNA of that child. In 2011, we lost the IMF deal. It's not 2011.
2012.
No, it's 11. They got the deal in 2010. They got the deal in 2010 and lost it.
But they formally walked away from the program.
In 2011. So they got the deal 2010 and they lost it in 2011.
All right, but we could go further back because I want the people to understand all the lie them with the Prime Minister tell.
Talk to me.
In 2000, and let me go back again because I'm go back to 1962.
Right.
In 1962, Norman Manley, Crab Nethersoul was the finance minister, built out places like the Bank of Jamaica, Planning Institute of Jamaica, which they're abusing now. And that laid the foundation for the growth of the Jamaican economy that spilled over into the 1960s.
Right.
In the 1960s, when they took over in 1962, the economy was recording growth of 6 and 7 and 8%. But none of it went to the poor people. No housing, no education, everybody illiterate, and all of those things, right? Michael Malley came in 1972. The country was almost on the brink of a revolution. People like Junior Biles and them, man, they're singing, I'm going to beat down Babylon. Delmar Wilson sing, Better Must Come, and all of them things.
All of them tune.
Yep. So Michael come and say, well, we have to deal with them problems here, the illiteracy and the housing and all of those things.
Right.
Then fight Michael in conjunction with the CIA and all of them people. But even when them say Michael was reckless fiscally, when Michael left, the debt to GDP is where they are trying to get back to now, 60%. You hear me? Which part we're trying to get back in terms of debt to GDP
at 1979 or 80.
Yeah. Despite all the fight that Michael gets for the social revolution, that helped to create people like Andrew Wallace in terms of education and all of them things.
Right.
The debt to GDP was only 60%.
60%.
When Mr. Seaga, the great minds that took over in 1980, when he was leaving office in 1989, the debt to GDP was 262%. And him said, what? Yeah, follow me.
The Prime Minister never talked about that. He never mentioned that.
You know all the people have to know that.
Never mentioned
that. He was a little boy. He
No,
maybe about 10 years old them
but
time.
him
The
know
guy
the
born
history.
1973 or something like that.
But him know the history, Ralston.
Yeah, man, I know.
So,
but
so
him
he's
directly
lying by
omit that.
omission.
Yep. So, one thing that Mr. Seaga said when he lost the election, that his greatest regret was that he never have what him call a social well-being program, no social revolution. So when him leave all over at debt to GDP of 262%, the country never have nothing to show for it. Yeah? Seaga's own words. Yeah?
So let's go to the 90s now, because
yeah, man, up comes Omar Davies.
Hold on, before Omar Ralston, because in which year inflation got to 80%?
1991.
1991. That's less than 2 years after the PNP took government.
Yeah, man.
So that
have all of this backup to deal with. And that's why I finished the history. So when Seaga was leaving, here Andrew tell about 550. Seaga had this bogus auction. Yeah, where them used to tell people to them not to come at the auction and all of them something. So you have all of this backup. That's why even the man them in the US, Timothy Ashby and them man that say Seaga was like a con man because it was a bogus auction. So when they come and tell about 550, that was just bogus. Yeah. So when them lose office, the dollar dropped from 550 to $7 and change. And when they was leaving, them go over Bank of Jamaica and tell the people them say, they'll have a break loose. So here's the opposition leader who is the government, the Prime Minister, who is the finance minister, going to the Bank of Jamaica and telling the staff that they'll have a break loose. So when man of them come in,
so
the
he
dollar
knew what was coming. Yeah,
of course, because I him leave it.
Right.
I him leave the time bomb. Yeah. So when Mike come now, everything break loose and the money up for IDB and IMF say, boy, better just liberalize the foreign exchange market. So the dollar dropped from 7, it was in September them did that. The dollar dropped from 7 to 21, and that is how you got the 80% inflation. Up comes Omar Davies. At that time, we had no reserves. Reserves were minus, when Andrew talk about reserves, reserves were minus 500 million.
He no mention that.
No, what the people know.
Hold on, Ralston. Listeners, things that the Prime Minister leave out of the history lesson that he gave by omission. Talk to me, Ralston.
Right. So up comes Omar now, and
Omar Davies became Minister of Finance what year?
1992.
1992.
Yeah, so him come see all of them problems. Yep. Yep. So Omar come now and hike the interest rates in order to stabilize the situation. And when the country had this liberalization, the banking act was never amended and up to date to deal with the situation. We had no reserves. So Omar couldn't intervene at the foreign exchange market like when you answer say, oh, the intervention by the BOJ, because there was no reserves to intervene.
Nothing to intervene, to assist.
Nothing to intervene.
They left the cupboard bare.
Bare, as usual. All right. Inflation was 8.6% when Omar came in. Poverty was 34%. Unemployment was 25%. By the time Omar left, the reserve 2007 reached now. The reserves were 2.4 billion. So from minus 500 to 2.4 billion. That is an increase of almost $3 billion. You come from minus, not zero, no. Minus, you're underneath water.
Right. You're old.
Yep. All right. Inflation was 5%. Poverty dropped from 34% to 9%. Unemployment dropped from 25% to 9%. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Omar Davies, at the first, Mr. Seaga couldn't pass no IMF test. Omar Davies, at the first finance minister in Jamaica that passed 12 consecutive IMF tests. 12 straight IMF tests. The team was Omar Davies, Shirley Tyndall, Derek Latibodier. That was the IMF negotiating team at that time. Mm-hmm. 12 consecutive tests, paid off the IMF in 1995 and went on a staff monitoring program. You follow me? Mm-hmm. 2007 September, PNP lost the election, JLP coming on power. Alshaw, Ed Bartlett tell people that the Great Recession will help Jamaica because more tourists will come at Jamaica. Me asked Ronnie when he go to my parliament, he asked the Prime Minister if they now go to the IMF. The Prime Minister at that time, Bruce Golding, told Ronnie that going to the IMF was neither necessary nor appropriate.
Right. So hold on now, listeners and viewers, I want to get this because this a which part now, Jamaica economic crash. And this now, we are going to take you now to who really own the baby of economic stability. So, 2008 we then rally.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. Them there spin round. Them time Barack Obama, Gordon Brown, Tim Geithner, Warren Buffett, all them money run up and down over the world. I say, yo, how we're going to deal with this problem? Because this is one of the biggest problems since 1933.
Yes.
And then they are telling people them say, everything all right, nothing wrong.
So, it was Bruce Golding, Audley Shaw, and Ed Bartlett that tell us that the world recession would not affect Jamaica.
I'm going to the IMF neither necessary nor appropriate. Yeah.
Right.
So, fast forward now, reaching in 2009 now, the net international reserves of Omar built up dropped from 2.4 billion to under a billion.
Under a billion.
Yeah. Economy declined by 5%. 100,000 people lose them job. Then them say, them finally I got the IMF now. We ain't with the same director general plans people that are advisor to Alshaw at that time. Dennis Strong to all them man when she opposed that Alshaw shouldn't get a second chance. Mm-hmm. But shut up them out now. Yeah. So 2009, fast forward November now, the IMF team start come down. About 10 o'clock the Friday morning, Central Bank Governor Derek Latibodier called me and say, yo, Ralston, them say, I have to clean out my desk by 3 o'clock. Then fire Central Bank Governor Derek Latibodier, the only man who knew anything about IMF.
When was that? November 2009.
November of 2009. The man called me 10 o'clock and said, Alshaw said to clean out him desk by 3 o'clock because two bull can't roll in a one pen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I saw them did now till February 2nd, 2010, them get an agreement. Them go and them take the wrong agreement. Them never know which agreement to take. Them take a 27-month standby arrangement. IMF, World Bank, IDB, give them 2.4 billion upfront.
Cash.
Upfront. Give them the money cash and say, we don't need to do this, we don't need to do that, we don't need to do that. Them only do the first test and them never do anything at all that them promised to do after that. Jean Leon, who was the head of the Caribbean Development Bank come to recently, he was the IMF resident representative in Jamaica. And when we used to call him and said, so Jean, what go on with the IMF agreement? Jean used to say, Ralston, these fellas can't give anything sensible to take to the IMF board.
They couldn't cross it. Nothing.
Couldn't cross it, none at all. Yeah? Mm. And that's for the country, but we can't get the money, and that is why them lost the election. Up comes.
So, hold on, man, we don't reach this yet. Tell us when they lost the deal in 2011. Because they got this deal in what, February 2010?
2010.
Right.
They never lose it. Them abandon it. As the IMF man, them say them never know until them write them and say them abandon the agreement because them can't test them, can't do the test and them say we not bother go to school again.
Also, 2011, the government decided to abandon the IMF.
Abandon, just as you Julian read out.
At what cost to Jamaica? How did that cost
significant costs were locked out of the international capital markets. Real GDP declined by 5%. Yeah? 100,000 people lose their job. The country's net international reserves were under $1 billion. The fiscal deficit was 6.75% of GDP. The overall public sector deficit was 10.75% of GDP. The current account deficit was 18% of GDP, one of the highest in the world, and the debt to GDP ratio was 147%, not the 135% that they were telling you about.
7%.
Yep.
Debt to GDP.
Right. Yep. The people at the IMF I say, yo, make them boy the feel, because them are going like them are disrespect big man. Them take money up front. Because remember, I said the IMF money are world money, you know.
Yes.
Are people money from the rest of the world.
American money, UK money.
Yeah. Everybody put up them quota. American money, UK money. IMF have over 100 members, so over 100 people money to take with. So the man must say, yo, them boy don't let us go like them a bad man. So you know, I'll punish them. Yeah? And make them feel.
Tell us about the JDX.
Well, on the man, when I reach this yet, man.
Well, and in 2011, they bring in JDX.
Yeah, well, them have to do a JDX. No, part of the agreement was to get the JDX. So they must say, yo, cut the debt ratio, so you cut the amount of money we pay back on government debt and all. That was part of the agreement with them, though. Yeah? Right. So, all them things end up in a failure. Right. So, after them do not know how get locked out and the economy start run down, Portia come now and Portia have to call Maxine Waters because the man must say, yo, make them boy the feel because them have this
IMF not talk to it.
Because you take with the world money.
So country to country, we couldn't get no talk from the IMF.
No, because everybody follow what IMF say. If IMF say not lending the money, nobody not lending the money.
Right,
IMF
so nobody.
International finance.
So neither the IMF, IDB, World Bank would take a call. They wouldn't take a call from Peter Phillips coming from the office of the Minister of Finance in Jamaica.
Yeah, man. No, man, take which call. And we even start talking about take call as the man said it was a dialogue of the death. You attack on the man now listen to the man say, oh the boy now going like son or some bad man and this big gun. You see me I said to you? Yeah. So I saw now Portia now I have to call Maxine Waters, who a big part of the Black Caucus, and say, yo, Christine Lagarde then became the managing director of the IMF.
Yvette Clark and them people.
Yeah, go take Christine for her.
And let me just remind people that there's a documentary out on this. There's a video out with Yvette Clark and those people telling us about they had to even go check Obama and beg Obama to call Christine Lagarde to even get a talk.
Yeah,
so
man.
These are not Ralston's argument or Ralston side of the story. There's a video out there upon this, Ryan. Go check it. Continue, Ralston.
But me can't talk because he was part of the negotiating. Them time over the Minister of Finance and work on thing all Christmas. All enough of them boy out here chat at them out. Them never did them. We were the Minister of Finance. How you think EPOC for him?
Talk to me.
Because the man must say, all right. So after the man them finally agree now.
Hold on, Ralston. When the GLP lost the election in 2012, what was Jamaica's position? You said the debt to GDP was 147%.
147%.
What was the reserve at that time?
Under $1 billion. The fiscal deficit was 6.75% of GDP. The overall public sector deficit was 10.75% of GDP. The current account deficit, the amount of money that we owe to the world, was 18% of GDP at the time.
Yeah.
100,000 people lose their work. The economy declined by 5%.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right. So we were in tatters.
Yeah, man. Everything wrecked. Let me tell you. And the man say we not talk to him.
Hold on, no, man. I don't want to get to the fix here because Andrew said that this thing started, the revolution started under Bruce Golding. Tell me, what did they do to try and fix
sign
this?
Simple. Them sign and tell the man them so them all do them thing. They take the man them money and never do nothing.
Yeah, man, we get all of that. But after 2011...
Yeah, so there was no revolution. That's the point I'm making here. It's line. There was no revolution.
Hold on, Ralston, man. So May 2011, I think, is when we step out of the IMF deal. In May.
Yeah.
Right. So for that year, because they lost the election, what, February 2012?
Yeah, man.
It's February? I don't remember.
I don't remember for February.
Around December 2011. Now we take on 2012.
Yeah, man.
So you are saying that no fiscal policies was developed under Bruce Golding?
I am saying them tell the IMF that them are going to do them thing there and they never do it. That is why the man them policy are lock us out of the international capital market. So, them take the man them money up front and promise to do those things and never need anything.
All right. Let's get this. Let's go to Portia. All right.
So when the man them know and them agree with Portia say, we're going to help Jamaica because of vaccine and all of them things there.
Yeah.
The man them said, I have to make sure say what them they do never happen again. That is why EPOC was formed.
Right.
So watch the government and to ensure the government live up to the commitments that the JLP administration, of which Andrew was a part of, never lived up to.
Right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So the man them say EPOC have a broad base represent everybody because the debt exchange, them do the debt exchange, make the man them lose their money and then them never continue to carry out the rest of the agreement. So we are going to do another debt exchange, but this time we now make it go the way it go. So we're going to make sure we have people from the private sector. That is why you got Biles and Zaka and
you
from me was representing the workers and all of those things. Donovan Wignall from the MSME Alliance represented small business. We had Norman Grant who represented the farmers. Everybody in Jamaica was to ensure that the new PMP administration never did what the JLP administration did.
All right.
Nobody expected us to succeed over past 10 consecutive tests.
Before we reach the test. So EPOC was formed. What other fiscal policies were put in place at that time?
Well, so they created the EPOC, and when them say, we're not front loading any money to you. You have to do all of the things that the JLP promised to do. And when they do them, we give you the money on a quarterly basis. That is what Peter Phillips was under. And that is why they have to work with him resignation every day because nobody expected us to succeed. Yeah? So he was willing to resign if we fail. So we had to do another debt exchange.
So Peter Phillips, Peter Phillips made a commitment that if we fail all the requirements set out by the IMF, he would resign.
Of course.
All right.
Because we couldn't go down that road again.
So this law that was put in place that we wouldn't run a deficit.
Precisely. So
when was that law put in place?
That law, as I said, the JP gave a commitment that they would do that and them never do it. So when Peter Phillips come in, he must do it and demonstrate to the people himself he's serious about it. You follow me? That was a precondition. Right? So we want to hit a debt to GDP of 60% by 25-26.
Right.
That was the and that means that the government and our minds are fears in that regard. And that is why the workers then have to go up on wages and all of that.
So there was a next debt exchange under the PNP.
Yeah, man. So that is what I said, yeah.
Right. And
because them squander the first debt exchange.
So this fiscal policy that we're talking about now, that we are saying it is also set in law. You are saying that all of this was done under Portia Simpson Miller and Peter Phillips?
And Peter Phillips, not me, so the whole world says so. That's why when the world attacked them said 13 years ago, they never said 15 years ago, where Andrew tried to tell people 15 to 2 years before.
So the baby that is called fiscal discipline is not 15, it's 13.
No, 13 years. If you notice, all of the international agencies, when them write them, say the last 13 years. Because the 2 years before the 13 years was a complete failure. That was the most disgraceful thing that had ever happened to Jamaica in the international financial community. We locked out of the market.
So when it comes to 13-year-old fiscal discipline, it could not be for Bruce Golding?
No. Remember, as I said, when Bruce Golding left, the fiscal deficit was 6.75% of GDP. The overall public sector deficit was 147%. There was 10.75% of GDP. The debt was 147% of GDP.
And
the economy declined by 5%.
And most important, the mother, which is the IMF, was not talking to us.
No. No, we're locked out of the international capital market, drifting like a ship without a rudder.
Hold on. Would it be fair for me to say then that all this fiscal discipline we are talking about was really insisted upon by the IMF?
Yeah, man.
So it could be then said that the IMF is the mother of Jamaica's fiscal discipline.
Yeah, along with Peter Phillips, Portia Simpson.
No, man, Peter Phillips and Portia will be the father.
Yeah, man.
So,
correct.
So that means Bruce Golding never had a relationship with the mother.
No. That's what I'm saying. We were locked out when that government left. We were locked out of the international capital market.
When the IMF decided to date Bruce Golding tell Pierre lie, so he never get none.
Yeah, man.
Talk to me. So now, Ralston, we are in 2013. We get the IMF deal. What are some of the things that were put in place now to ensure that what the GLP did never happened again?
The main thing was EPOC, the watchdog body to watch over Peter Phillips and to make sure that he faithfully carried out what we agreed to with the IMF. So the EPOC, that's what I tell you. And that is how you hear about Biles and Duncan and all them people, because they were representing the financial community because of the debt exchange. I was representing the workers because of the wage freeze, because the workers had gone on a wage freeze and a JLP too. And again, the agreement was squandered.
Right.
Yeah, the farmers represented by Norman Grant and all of that. So
Norman Grant was on EPOC as well?
Yeah, man, representing the farmers.
So
Donovan Wignall representing the small business people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you are saying to us, Ralston, that the Prime Minister stood up in the Parliament on Thursday
and tell a lie to the whole world.
Then, Ralston, I heard somebody with this. This is not my original. I heard somebody saying that they are disappointed with the fourth estate, the media. Because what would have expected from mainstream media in Jamaica is that a group of people would sit down, trash out all of this that me and you just got through a while ago, and determine that when this fiscal discipline in Jamaica started, and to really put it out there to the people that Prime Minister Andrew Holness is misrepresenting the truth.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That I agree, and that is why I'm doing my part, because beautiful. I was a part of it.
You.
So we find it personally offensive that he would say that, because I was an integral part of it. He wasn't an integral part of it. Yeah? So he can't tell me nothing about anything. He didn't say it, as they would have said on the street.
So here we go now, Ralston. We are in a recession. Somebody in the chat room said I should ask you if the starting numbers are out yet.
No, starting numbers are come out the end of this month. Sometime next week we get starting numbers.
Ralston, what effect the fact that starting has not been able to deliver the national census, what effect that would have on the country?
It means that the government cannot plan properly, because the census will tell you about the population, where the population is, what is the demographic of the population, who is 15, who is 20, who is 70.
So the government is flying blind.
Yeah, man, it's a very important tool. Yeah, and that took place under the man who said himself the greatest finance minister. It's the first time it ever happened in the history of Jamaica.
I have a question for you, Ralston.
You can't complete a census.
Here is question. What did the IMF said in the report about Jamaica's fiscal discipline at the end of the Bruce Golding administration?
The IMF contended that it was a big disappointment, and they were disappointed with Jamaica's performance. And as a result of that, that's why they weren't even talking to us, and their friends at the IDB weren't talking to us, and their friends at the World Bank weren't talking to us. Facilities which we applied for, they never allowed us to draw them down. But they have a thing with them called cross-conditionality, where the IMF will say, yo, if them boy then agree to what make sure not give them nothing. Simple.
I just want to say to my listeners and viewers, you're watching Portland Spice TV. And we have over 700 people watching right now. And we only have 244 likes. Like up the video, people. Showing appreciation. Over 700 people watching right now, Ralston. And we're calling them to like up the video. Now, here we are, Ralston, in 2025. And we just come out of the budget presentation. We mentioned some of the things that the Prime Minister did not talk about, and we see that as disrespect. But tell me, what are the growth policies you heard from the Prime Minister?
Well, we never heard of it. The Prime Minister was all over the place making all kinds of promises. As he himself said, it was a prospectus. He tried to sell something to somebody.
Yes.
There's no coordinated growth strategy. You with me? In fact, the Prime Minister's own ministry, the Prime Minister is not the man who are all about the economy the most. You know?
Well, we're going to talk about that because we hear that him create a bottleneck.
Yep, that's the point I'm going to make. So him, I want the greatest impediment to economic growth in Jamaica because him take on all of these ministries in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the Office of the Prime Minister. And him cannot manage all of those things. The Prime Minister is going to be spending 60% of the country's capital budget because 34 billion of the
Prime Minister.
Billion.
Is it that he don't trust the other people around him, Ralston?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And him love power. Him operate on a kind of dictatorial style. So him carry everything up on a team office. And him not have the capacity, to deal with all of those things. That's a big problem for the country, the way the government is organized.
So the fact that we didn't spend the capital budget for many years now, you are blaming the Prime Minister.
Yeah, man. And the right-hand man, the Minister of Finance, because the Prime Minister have most of the country's capital budget. And the procurement process, which them tell you about, was in the office of him right-hand man, the Minister of Finance. So the Prime Minister is holding back the country.
I heard the leader of opposition talking to you yesterday morning, and he explained a scenario with a deal that he was doing as a lawyer.
Yeah, man.
And it took some time because the Prime Minister himself needed to sign a document.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And it facilitates corruption because I'm answering to me can't bother wait to agree somebody palm.
And get this moving.
And get this thing moving. Yeah, man. So the Prime Minister is all about the country and facilitating corruption because he take on all of these things up at his office and he not have the capacity to manage all of those things.
So you did not hear the growth strategy from the Prime Minister?
No, neither from Favor Williams. It is an accountant's budget. They don't have a growth strategy. So even those who question us why recession, they cannot look at the numbers. The government in its own forecast, so them only have to grow by 1% per year for the next 5 years, 4 years. And we say so that's what them right now in the budget book.
Now, tell me something, Ralston. What were the growth strategies you heard from the leader of the opposition?
Well, the leader of the opposition spoke about the growth strategy, the 4 E's. The Prime Minister made himself a clown by talking about economic this and economic that. Yeah? The growth strategy, the leader of the opposition spoke about the massive gaps in the country's external accounts and that they'll deal with those things by investing in agriculture, investing in energy, which this government has done nothing about. The cost of energy in Jamaica is now twice what it was in 2016. Investing in education, investing in efficiency, investing in the country's labor force, and invested in the creative industries in order to drive economic growth. A coordinated 5E strategy. Yeah, that was clearly outlined.
You mentioned the creative industry, and something that shocked me in the Prime Minister's speech. He also spoke about the culture and the creative industry. But what shocked me? No, but what shocked me? Hear this. The man said they are now going to review their policy because if you give all this money to the culture and the creative industry, you have to be sure that you are going to get return on your money. What that tells me is that the Prime Minister don't see the money that he's putting in the culture and the creative industry as an investment. Because it is obvious to me now that they have no understanding of the culture and the creative industry and how to get returns from it. NC wouldn't be so concerned.
And they haven't given any money to the industry. The $1 billion fund, nobody has gotten any money from the $1 billion fund.
Nobody not get no money. You hear him talk about somebody gone out the day before him talk. Because they have put this money there and they have not really given anybody any of the money.
No, nobody will get the money, man. They don't understand these things, man.
They don't have a clue. And therefore, if they have projected 1% growth for 4 years, then can the Jamaican people settle for that? 1%?
No, because as I said, them believe the people have no ambition. Because their thing is unambitious. So then believe that the people I work with is not an ambitious thing and just want to live like that.
Is it unambitious to Ralston, or is it based on their reality? Because if you don't know how to grow it, then you go and tell the truth and say you can only do 1%.
Yeah, so what there is an admission that they don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, man.
So if you are only going to be growing by 1%, and with the other thing that the Prime Minister never mentioned a word about is what Donald Trump is doing with all the tariffs and all of that. How can you be the Prime Minister, Ralston, in a budget presentation with everything that Donald Trump is doing, and you mention nothing about it?
Yeah, that's the point I'm making to you, that the gentleman is in a different world. He's operating above his capacity. Yeah? They call it the Peter principle, where you get exalted above your level of competence. That is what is reaching the Prime Minister.
What are the fears you have, Ralston, based on what is that happening in America? What Canada is also responding? What would all of that do to a Jamaican economy?
All right. Now, if the Prime Minister was a real Prime Minister and an economist, because I'm attempting to make people believe he's an economist, while he was speaking, every international central bank, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of England, the Swiss National Bank, Sweden's Riksbank, the Federal Reserve Board, the American Central Bank, all of them held their benchmark rates at the same level that they were before. Mm-hmm. So Bank of England is rated at 4.5% per annum. The Federal is rated at between 4.25 and 4.5% per annum. The Bank of Japan held its rate at between 0.25 and 0.5% per annum. The Swiss National Bank held its rate at 2.25% per annum. What they're saying, we cannot move interest rates. We have to watch and see and assess the inflationary impact of Donald Trump's policies. The stock markets were selling off. So the Prime Minister was a real Prime Minister, and I understand them. So that means the Bank of Jamaica have a rate decision to make on Thursday. The Bank of Jamaica cannot cut its interest rates again because of what is happening internationally. There's going to be a run on the Jamaican dollar.
Because there's uncertainty.
Precisely. So that's where, after starting with his declaration and say, this is what I'm going to do about my declaration, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister should then proceed and talk about what is happening in the international environment. Because Jamaica
hold on, Ralston. When I hear some analysts saying that the presentation was brilliant, I am wondering if I am stupid. Because I am saying
they're stupid,
Jamaica is not in a silo by ourselves.
Yeah, man.
We operate in the global space.
Yeah, man.
And with what is happening, with what America is doing, how can you not mention anything? Neither from the finance minister have one more go at it. You think she's gonna say something about that on Tuesday?
Well, even if she says something about it, that is like an afterthought. That is where you have to start at the beginning, because that is the beginning. Jamaica is a small 25 billion player and a 105 trillion player. Then they're ready. And that's how you have to start. So you should have started in declaration, then him go to that and stop waste time on foolishness and try to mislead the people. Yeah.
So the question is that what are the concerns that Jamaica should be showing now based on what is happening?
Well, that's the point I'm making. So I'm saying now, it means that the central bank can't bring down interest rates much further. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So it means that you have to now be looking as to how you get capital to businesses in order to accelerate the process of economic growth. Mm-hmm. You with me? Yeah, you have to look at your energy policy and say, we have to bring down the cost of energy so that we can cut our energy bill, which runs at $2.5 billion every year. Mm-hmm. You have to go to agriculture so you can cut the food import bill. So you have significant foreign exchange savings to deal with the 3-year decline in remittance flows. All them numbers of the Prime Minister never in charge of Parliament. What kind of Prime Minister is he? We use the remittance money to pay for the gap in the external account.
Remittance is down.
That is shrinking 3 years straight.
3 years straight remittances. And that's our biggest foreign exchange earner, right?
Biggest foreign exchange earner, yeah.
And we have not heard, he didn't mention anything about that in his presentation.
Tourism only netted $1.76 billion last year, yeah. And that is also going to be affected by Trump's policies, because Trump policies are going to push up the cost of living in the U.S., make it more difficult for people to travel. To have the discretionary income to travel, yeah.
Talk to me about this $2.1 billion in direct foreign investment. How is that going to be? How is that going to be possible now?
That is not realistic because when we look at the BOJ's numbers, the BOJ told us that last year we got less than $400 million in foreign direct investment flows coming from $1.4 billion in 2008. Now, every international investor is staying close to his money right now while they assess the inflationary impact and the uncertainty surrounding Trump's policies. So we don't know how they could be projecting 2.1 billion, jumping from 376 million to 2.1 billion in 1 year.
So hold on, we had $376 million in the
last year, coming
year.
from 1.4 billion in 2008.
How come the analysts, them not asking that question? Uncle, me and you here talk about this, you know? This $2.1 billion that them said them going get in foreign direct investment.
Colin, there's some little man asking for them stuff what people are calling. Them take poor people for fools. So them little youth they come on radar and chat them all for fools there and I try and mislead the people because them not seeing the numbers, them not reading the numbers. Yeah? As we said, the definition of an analyst is somebody who use numbers to draw conclusions. Them not give the people them the numbers that us PR exercises and singing for them supper them.
You have a better chance than me to get a Favor Williams on your show. I doubt the Prime Minister going to come because I want to say this morning that the Prime Minister of Jamaica is hiding from the media. I'm not taking no interview. It's on the place. It's on the one place I expect to see him now. It's over nationwide. But Favor might come. Can you try and get that? Please try.
None of those people are willing to come on my show. Nigel Clark used to come a couple of times with assistance.
Yes.
But none of those are going to do it.
And is that the reason why they want to have a team debate for the finance minister now?
Yeah, man, because they know that them weak. She's weak.
But let's go back to the serious matter. Because if they don't get this amount of foreign direct investment, will we see that 1% growth?
No. That's the point I'm making too, that even that 1% is dicey because of what is happening in the international environment. In times of uncertainty, investors stay close to cash. That is why investors are selling stocks and keeping their money in cash because I'm going to say, I make sure I have my money near to me. The nearest thing to me is I have cash now, I buy gold. That is why gold prices are historically
gone. Gold gone.
How come the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister never talk about them something?
You see, let me tell you something.
I'm not pretend like him know about economics.
Let me tell you one thing that I know, Ralston, that when we do voice and speech training and we were doing some media training, they told us, that when you ask somebody a question and they take a very long time to answer, trying to go for infinitum to answer the question, they are not sure about what they are saying.
Yeah, man.
And they are not confident in what they are saying. And that is why the Prime Minister took 5 hours and some minutes because the Prime Minister is not confident in what he himself is saying. He's not sure. Not sure.
Yeah, man.
Because how can you come to the Jamaican people for 5 hours and you don't talk about what is happening with the U.S., with tariffs, the U.S. putting on tariffs and everything? Canada is responding. Mexico is responding. China is saying that I'm ready for any kind of war, whether economic war or physical war.
All of that missed them. Yeah, man.
How you don't come with all of that?
It's not only him. His entire PR team, Marlon Morgan and all of those fellas, they are clueless about international economics and the history of Jamaica. Yeah, man. So it's not just him, his whole team. Yeah, they are clueless.
Let's talk a little bit about some solutions, Ralston. The election is coming. We know it's coming. But anybody get into power will have all those international issues that we are just talking about to deal with. How are we going to be dealing with these?
Well, as I said before, if you look at the external accounts, then you'd see that you give yourself more leverage if you get your cost of energy down. So you don't have to pay 2.5 billion US per annum for oil.
Right.
Getting energy down means that your economy is more competitive, both in your domestic market and export market. So you can export more and you can import less. Then you have to focus on agriculture so that you can reduce the food import bill, so you have more foreign exchange.
Well, let me just say this. One of the things that impressed me from Mark Golding is that we are going to bring the food importation bill down by
25% per
in
annum.
our first term.
That is $400 million.
But he also said that there was a plan for the Caribbean to bring that down, ending 2025. So when other Caribbean nations are completing that, Jamaica did not make a move on it.
No, we are going in the opposite direction. We were increasing. Right. So if you do that, that's $500 million you free up.
Yes.
Yeah? We have to more closely integrate tourism with agriculture, with the creative industries.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, with manufacturing, so that you can get more from the tourism. Move from less than 2 billion to 2 billion and change, 3 billion and change. So the effect is that you are going to export more in terms of your goods and services, and you are going to import less, so you have more foreign exchange at your disposal. If you have more foreign exchange at your disposal, then you are less vulnerable to external developments. It means that it also have more money to invest in the real sectors of the economy locally, because the Bank of Jamaica would not have to be paying people to lock up money in the vault. Yeah? And pay them 6.5% and 6.25% per annum to lock up money in the vault. That money could be working for the economy.
Talk to us about the government floating a paper between the government and the Bank of Jamaica, floating paper every week. What is that, Ralston? Tell us about that. Make
All
we
right.
understand that.
So in order to protect the value of the dollar because of the shortage of foreign exchange, the Bank of Jamaica, apart from intervening, Mr. Bile says that he intervened in the foreign, which is something that the Prime Minister never tell the country. And talk about exchange rate stability. In order to keep the exchange rate stable, because we're not earning any money and running large trade deficit. The trade deficit for the first 10 months of last year was $4.63 billion. The Bank of Jamaica has to either intervene with the reserves, or the Bank of Jamaica has to pay Jamaican people to lock up their money in the vault in the Bank of Jamaica.
Instead of buying US.
Instead of buying US dollars. You know what the Bank of Jamaica paid them? 6.25 and 6.75% per annum.
Is that
so imagine
sustainable?
You have Jamaican dollars locked up in the vault, and we are using taxpayers' money to pay interest to lock up the money in the vault.
Is that sustainable?
No, that's not sustainable. That is why I say we have to earn more foreign exchange, so that you don't have to do that. That's the point I'm making, and that's what the Prime Minister never told the country, that the country is paying a high cost for the stability.
Because the Bank of Jamaica also said they spent $1.1 billion
US dollars
year
between January of 2024 and January of 2025 to stabilize the dollar, and that's on the US dollar side.
1.1 billion US, that is 160 billion Jamaican.
Exactly, and that's one side. But there's also the Jamaican dollar side, where they float CDs, and you pay 6.25% per annum on
right,
the
because
CD.
What the Bank of Jamaica is saying to investors, instead of investing in US dollars, don't buy no
Lock
US
up the money
dollars.
with me.
Give me the
So
money,
the
give you 6.5% interest on your money.
Precisely.
What is the interest rate on
regular
regular
deposit?
What's the interest rate on regular deposit now?
Yeah, and taxpayers have to pay for service that without that money working for the country, that money is locked up in the vault. That can't make sense.
What is the interest rate on regular deposits?
In the banking system?
Yeah.
2%.
2%. So you are getting 4.6%.
2.5 and 4.75 higher than what the banks are
you're getting 400% more
to
not buy US dollars to invest in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Let's lock it up in the vault and make it go on rotten. Prime Minister never explained that to the country when they talk about stability. You have to earn stability by exporting more and importing less. That is how you use the market to stabilize the dollar. Yeah? You might make the governor too much gray here.
Our food bill, Ralston, is how much the last
1.6 billion for the first 10 months, so I end up at $2 billion.
For the first 10 months of 2024.
Yeah, man. You know that the money that we spend on buy food and tin goods and all of them things.
Right. How much is the oil?
1.6. Yeah, 1.6 billion was more than all of the money that we get from all of the things that were exported.
Take your time with me. How much is the oil bill?
Oil bill is 1.6 billion for the first 10 months.
1.6. So we look.
So the food bill and the oil bill are the same.
Food bill and the oil bill. So and you are expecting both of them to reach 2 billion.
2 billion, man. Yeah,
so
man.
We're looking at 4 billion for food
4
and
billion,
oil.
Yes.
And both of these are things that we can cut down on.
That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making.
We can cut down from both of these.
Yep. And I'm saying to you, it is a dangerous situation because all those two bills, each of them is more than the whole of the money that we get for exports.
How much we get for export? 10 months. All our export
1.5 billion. All our exports come to 1.5 billion for the first 10 months of last year. Export. Yeah, so they have to put 100 million on that to buy the food.
Buy
and
any one of them. To buy any one. Yeah, so we couldn't buy the two.
No, that's the point I'm making. That's a dangerous development, and that is something that.
How much we made from tourism?
Tourism was 1.76 billion for the whole year.
Year. So you couldn't buy the food for 10 months if you really look at it.
No.
And
so we believe that
tourism is how much?
1.76 billion for the whole year.
1.76 tourism
for the entire year. Remember, the food thing after 10 months.
So 12 months.
Yes.
And then I have 10 months. I take notes in Ralston.
Yeah, man.
I take notes. No.
And for those who doubtful, hold on, one more. For those who doubtful and have them head in the sand, so much like ostrich, these numbers are available on Statin's website. So I tell them where they can find them.
And remittance was how much?
Remittances for the whole year was 3.128 billion. They can find that on the BOJ's website.
Remittance. So that's just a little over 4 billion. So that is on island food, and we import a whole lot more things.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making to you, man. You know what? So the raw material and intermediate goods bill, almost 1.7 billion. Because those are the main things that we import. Most of the things we use for production, raw materials and intermediate productive goods. 1.7 billion US dollars.
1.7. For 10 months or 12 months, that?
10 months. Which 12 months, man? The trade figures are for 10 months.
And the remittances, the 3.1
full year
is for the
1 year.
Months.
Yeah, man. And the tourism, 1 year.
So we're not making enough money to take care of ourselves.
Precisely. So if the analysts were real analysts, if the Prime Minister understood economics, he would have dissect all of those numbers and say, Madam Speaker, this is alarming. And then the next thing we need to go to know in terms of Madam Speaker, it looks like taxpayers only pay Madam Speaker for come to Parliament when JLP people are that. You understand that?
Hold on, Ralston. You expect the woman husband for your talk and she not present?
What is wrong with you? With the opposition leader and the opposition spokesman.
She not in a nut with Mark Golding. Mark Golding this her last year. So she's the wife of the Prime Minister. So
well, she only give credence to what him said. We can't allow that as taxpayers where the Speaker only come to Parliament.
But it's true. He never tell a lie. Isn't she the wife of the Prime Minister?
Yeah, man. But that's the broader point that we supposed to make. We can't have a Speaker that is so patently biased where she only come when fair people them attack. No, man. None of that would be her fault. The Speaker is supposed to be unbiased.
But one of the problems we are having in this country in Ralston, the government is not governing as a Jamaican government. They are governing as a GLP government.
Yeah, man. But the people of the country shouldn't tolerate that.
No.
Because the taxes is not JLP taxes, are our taxes. Paying back the loans are not JLP paying back the loans. It's the people's money paying back the loans.
Ralston, you said that we are getting more taxes than ever.
Mm-hmm.
How much taxes the government collect last year, 2024?
Well, up to December, they had collected almost 800 billion.
800 billion.
The projection was to collect 899 billion.
Hold on. So you're saying they collected 800 billion up to when? December?
Up to December.
So that's 12 months.
No, man, that's the last available figure. Remember, the fiscal year started in April.
On April, and the intention was to collect 890 billion.
899.
899, nearly 900 billion. And they collected 800 billion already. And so they're looking at another 100 billion. You expect that to come?
Yeah, man, they might end up like about 10 billion short, but they might get near there.
So you think they might end up 10 billion short? The recession, Ralston, what are the predictions for the first quarter 2025?
Well, we said they expect to get between 0 and 0.1%, which means that it's still up on the floor.
Hold on. Wayne Henry, hold on there, Ralston, because me are right. The expectation for 2025, first quarter. is between
0 and 0.1%.
Between 0 and 0. Between 0%, that's no growth, and 0.1%, that's still
no growth.
That's still no growth. So if that is the prediction, Ralston, then we're starting an L-shaped recession.